You're watching Straight Black Love Talk with your host, DC Radical One, the home of intelligent, mature relationship conversations.
This is where I was, right? Dealing with a woman and her father. If those interactions are positive, that man, her father, will be looked at as a template. Part of that will go down to a brain computer, and she'll keep part of it, right? As I want this type of man in my life. This is why it is important for you fathers out there to be involved in your daughter's life. It's really imperative. Like when I was growing up, there was always this discussion about the importance of a father to a son, the importance of a father to a son. The boys in the community don't have fathers, and that's why they're doing this and that and the third and so forth, so on. And it was talked about so much that people seem to have forgotten what about the daughters, right? And then when you start seeing certain things, then people are like, oh, maybe the lack of fathers is affecting the daughters too. And like, yeah, of course. But it was a kind of an overlooked thing back in the day. So, secondly, that most people do know about, but we don't talk about a woman's early interactions with men, right? We got to be honest about what goes on in our community. A lot of women's early interactions with men, unless they have an intact family structure and they have brothers and uncles and things that they have positive interaction with, a lot of black women's early interactions with men are not positive. A lot of the reason a lot of women don't feel safe is because a lot of the men in our community are predatory towards young girls. Right? Robert Kelly's not an anomaly. He's only an anomaly in his wealth and status as a predator. You got a lot of Robert Kellys running around. They just not as well known, and don't get caught, right? But that takes place, and that's an aspect of part of the situation, why black men and black women can't get along, because a lot of black women don't feel safe around black men based upon their interaction with black men when they're little girls. Whether it's inappropriate looks, inappropriate touching, something that goes beyond that. And that's something that you're a man and you're dating a sister and you really want to get to know her. That's something you gotta ask. That's something you gotta put on the table. But it's a way to do it, because if you just like throw that out there, she's gonna recoil from that, right? But it's so, and we talk about this, we've talked about this for years as BPM. It's something that's so prominent in our community that if you get to know a sister, you really have to listen. Sometimes once you get to a certain level of understanding, you can kind of tell by a woman's reaction to men if something has happened, right? Like, you can kind of tell that a woman will gravitate towards men that are like protective. They just have that energy, and women will gravitate towards that person and recoil away from other men. And if you just a man and you observing, it's good to observe that, because sometimes a woman won't, without even knowing it, it's just her body language, it's her subconscious mind. A woman will tell you if somebody in your midst is a predator by her reaction to it. And then a lot of times if you ask, they'll be like, oh yeah, he kind of creepy. Right. That's just the main word. Now that doesn't mean that women are right all the time, but a lot of times women they're picking up on something subtle from the man that's familiar in a negative way, and they're reacting to that. And if you observe, you can see, like, yo, what's going on? That's what's going on, right? Now, this is supposed to say when. I guess I was typing too fast. When a woman is imprinted, okay. Well, you got Rizal says, at this point, you think all male entertainers are degenerates. I won't say all, because there's always exceptions to every rule, but many of them are. Really, the more prominent you are, the more likely you are to be engaged in some type of degenerate activity. So now, okay, I just totally mistyped it. Let me go back and see what this is supposed to say. Who a woman is imprinted by. Okay, right. Who a woman is imprinted by sexually or have a large factor in this determination of who she finds attractive. This factor is called by some esoteric spiritual scholars womb imprinting. All right. This is something that not a lot of people know about, and thus not a lot of people talk about. The reason that it isn't taught, and I'll tell you how deep it is, right? There's a book that goes in depth into this, that deals with the woman, and there's another book that the same author wrote that deals with the man. The combined price of these two books is $6,000. These books were not written like 150 years ago. The books were written, I think one of them was written like 15 years ago, and one of them was written 8 years ago. So that is the root of what we're getting ready to get into. I've heard this science from part of it from other people with using different terminology than I'm used tonight, right? So over time, from different brothers, I've gotten different stuff piecemeal. Now, what is the womb imprint? A woman's womb imprint is determined by, now I've heard some brothers say, the first man, which most brothers disagree with, the first 2 men, first 3 men, or the first 4 men that she interacts with sexually, right? These men leave an imprint on her subconscious mind, and her body will change accordingly to adapt to that kind of man. If a woman has positive interaction with men, it can have a positive effect on her relationships with men for the rest of her life. The opposite is also true. So what am I saying? This is what I'm saying. And this isn't something that Western, quote unquote, science really talks about. I went and looked at some different studies, and they're starting to talk about it more, but this is something that is known for more Eastern. It's more of like an Eastern philosophy thing, right? But if you look at a lot of Eastern societies, traditional societies, they do the mate selection for the woman. Why is that? Because those interactions can set up a woman for success or failure for the rest of her life, right? If the woman's first interaction is traumatic or unsatisfactory, which is often the first one is often just unsatisfactory, because many times it's two people that don't know what they're doing. Okay, let's just be honest. Or the first interaction is predatory. It sets women up to, and this is something that's not even conscious. It sets them up to subconsciously seek out that type of man continuously. That's why you see women who have the same relationship experience, because they're dating the same man in a different body, but similar bodies over and over. And then we say that's that woman's type. But where does the type come from? The type comes from the imprinting, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. Years ago, I was dealing with this sister or whatever. We've been together for a minute. And I knew about a dude that she had dealt with before me. And then we were going somewhere, and some dude, came up, spoke to her, this and that, and she go, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Blah blah blah. They talked for a minute, and I was like, "Who was that?" Oh, she's like, "Oh yeah, I used to date him." Blah blah blah, that type of thing. And then it dawned on me, right? Because I had two other people to compare to. I was like, "Oh, no wonder she hollered at me first." Because if you compare, if you put the three of us, you could take the three of us and put us in a police lineup. You know how they do a police lineup, and they try to get similar looking people? Like, we were similar height, similar build. I think I talked to her, we even had similar jobs, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was her type, and the way she reacted to me when we first met, I knew that, but I didn't realize how much of a thing it was until I saw these two other dudes.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cashapp is $DCRadical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A BB for ODA and straight black pride.